Hello and welcome back to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. So in today's video, I just want to make a quick recap of the section 4 of this model on how to conduct a proper research and gather quality data. Why? Because by mention and also reinforce my learning, something that in the machine learning calls reinforcement learning. So by being able to talk out loud this and understand that is not only absorb all of this knowledge, but also know when you need to apply, when and where you can apply this knowledge is something crucial, especially in your life. So in any case, so the TLDR of how to conduct a research is recognize that data is something powerful because it can help you to inform, persuade, reinforce your point of view, but also can be misleading. And especially if you're conducting a research for a consulting project, recognize the different source of this data. The first party data that come from the company. Usually you have to sign an NDA agreement for that. Once you do that, you can now what this company have done in the past, see how they have been performing, and from there you can provide your suggestions. The second party data is data from trust sources. They have a great record because they are not anonymous. They have a proven research report, peer review. And the third party data, which is data that comes from anonymous sources or data that can be verified. So usually it's behind to some paywall or you can know who the author really is. So it's important to recognize this type of data when you're conducting a research. Okay? And now, when it comes to perform or to conduct the research, there are several key topics like perspective, so see things from different perspectives, play devil advocate with yourself because things are not black or white, gather relevant data, very misunderstood this step, okay? Gather relevant data for that. Keep notes and also take notes and keep record of every source you obtain, as well as qualify the data that you're getting. And don't forget to circle back with the client, okay? And this is crucial, right? Because that will lead you to a broad understanding of what's going on. And by looking at particular guidelines that Paul Mendes did, especially when he conducted a research, and Paul Mendes is the Zero to Mastery instructor here, where when you look at a website or when you conduct a research to a particular company, let's say a tourist website, okay? So first, look at the genetics. So understand all the products and service, okay? And understand what this company offer. And then you go to the specific by looking at the categories, the pricings, what makes this company unique, the company review. If you can have access to the first party data, that's great. If you're not, it doesn't matter. But once you conduct your research based on the company brands, all the products and service, their pricings, what they offer, now you can do a competitor analysis to understand who the other players in that industry are. Okay, and from that you want to see what are the other players in that industry, learn from their experience and what they're doing by using and taking a by making a keyword notes that later on you can use in your keyword tools, whether it's from Google or any other keyword tool out there, is to understand what's going on in that industry. And on top of that, that's when you look at the worst news to get up to date data and see everything that you have researched, what is most likely to work today. And that includes is look at how this industry is adapting to regulations and where this industry is going. So all of this series of steps, okay, by looking at the genetics of the company, and then in the specific, which is the first step. If you can have access to the first party data, that's great. And then do the competitor analysis, where now you want to know who the other players are in that industry. Okay, take notes of what they're doing, what they have done. Okay, see what you can learn from them and make a keyword research, because that is what you're going to use on the next step, which is understand what's going on in that industry by using keyword tools out there from Google or any other company. And on top of that, you want now is to look at the worst news data, and from there, okay, and from there, you want to ask yourself everything that I have researched, what is most likely to work today. Okay, and that includes look at the words, look at the regulation and where this industry is going. So this fourth step, when you conduct a research, is something that you can automate, especially anytime you are meeting a new client. Especially when you are meeting a new client. I also conduct particularly research, but to know more about the e-commerce, right? So in my case, this research is based on not a company, it's based on an industry. Okay, so there is no company here, there is no first step. The second step is to know who the other players are in that industry and to understand the concept in that industry. For example, the e-commerce. So Amazon mentioned that refers to the trade and good refers to the transaction of good and service on the internet. So it is your bustling city center where your brick and mortar shops convert into zeros and one. While Shopify mentioned that yes, while e-business refers to operating all aspects of an online business, whether it's marketing, conducting marketing research, developing marketing strategies, creating ads campaign, managing social network, sales, contact sell leads, do video or sales call, or do sales calls or video presentations, negotiate contract, close deals, financial, keep track every financial transaction, create reports, keep track the taxes, among other things. Human research, recruiting talent, administering salaries and benefits, providing training and teaching to employees, solving employees' issues, operations, developing or improving existing productions, operations, setting quality standards, among other things. The IT, creating computer networks. So they're responsible for creating computer networks, developing and implementing software systems, providing technical support, ensure data security, customer service, inquire customers or addressing customer inquiries, handle complaints and refunds, providing technical support and check the customer satisfactions, and the R&D, the research and development, developing and improving existing prototypes, creating patents. So all of this aspect, broadly speaking, marketing, sales, operations, financing, human research, IT, customer service, and R&D, e-commerce refers specifically to the trade of good and service. Okay? And then I just want to know more about different type of e-commerce that it can exist. Okay? Again, we're still on the step 2 to understand what's to see. The step 2 is the competitor analysis. Okay? Between the understanding of that industry and then competitor analysis. Where here is when I see what are the different actors involved in an e-commerce. So you have business, consumers, and government. And the broadly business model is the business to consumers, such as the business to consumer, like online retailers, Amazon, Target, Costco, subscription service, Netflix, Spotify, and now Twitter as well. Ordering food and delivery service, such as Uber Eats, DoorDash, online travel and booking, Airbnb, Expedia, you name it, okay? As well as the digital marketplace, where now consumers can interact with small business or individuals to purchase or sell good and service, like Etsy or eBay. Now I also look at the business to business model, such as online marketplace, Amazon, eBay, or Amazon e-business, Alibaba, eBay business, EDI, the electronic data interchange, traditionally paperwork that were on paper, such as that were made on paper, such as the purchase order, or such as purchase order or all purchase order, invoice. Now it is done electronically. And these systems allow to do that transfer or to exchange data across company or between companies much more safer. So IBM provide these solutions. Online portals, where very large business want to streamline their supply chains, so they set an online portal such as SAP Ariba Network, so they can streamline their process from suppliers and vendors, or the Walmart supplier centers. Business to business payment solutions like PayPal or Stripe, wholesale e-commerce like Ringer Uline. Another business model is the consumer to business, such as freelance work in platforms like Upwork, People Per Hour, Freelancer, online survey like SurveyMonkey, crowdfunding, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, so people want to raise funds to their project. So people want to raise funds for their projects. User-generated content, as well as user-generated content. And you name it, okay? That kind of thing. So I also look at another business model, like now from the government perspective, okay? Such as public procurement portals like the FBO in the US or the UK contract finders, tax filing and payment systems like the electronic federal tax payment system in the US or the UK's revenue and customs, as well as the business registration like the SBA on the US Small Business Administration or the UK Company House, international trade and custom clearance like electronic custom clearing or export declaration, permit and licensing applications such as building permits or food license. From now the government to consumers, you have things like tax portals, payment of utility bills, passport applications, driving and vehicle licensing, ordering birth and death certificates. So for example, on the UK you can do that through the General Register Office, and in the US through the National Center for Health Statistics, which is great. So the whole point of this is now look at another and last business model, which is the consumer to government, such as online petitions, online donations, payment of fines and fees, phishing and licensing, fishing licensing or hunting permits. So the whole point of this is to understand what are the most common examples, and from there you can now have a bigger perspective of what's going on, and then here do the competitor analysis at the step 2, okay, to understand what are the other players in that industry, in the e-commerce. So you have Amazon, Alibaba, eBay, Shopify, okay, something that I'm going to work with a client, by the way. So it's Shopify, and then you can go to the and then you do is this keyword research. to that. Okay, so to understand what's going on in that industry. So most of the time in the Shopify sphere and Shopify, Amazon, IKEA, Shopify, Amazon, IKEA, Alibaba. So the entire ecosystem is focused on Shopify websites, Shopify themes, uh, Amazon, Kindle, Alexa, Fire Stick, point of sales. So Shopify has dominated that industry, the e-commerce industry, vastly, as well as in the West. So in the East, you have Alibaba that allows you to do that. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, okay, look at the e-commerce. And for example, I will have a meeting after this video with a client that one is, so he built some Shopify application, okay, and he launched that on the Shopify store, which is okay. I didn't know about that. That's part of the step 2 of the conduct. Sorry, that's part of the step 2. This competitor analysis, okay, and doing the keyword research to understand what's going on in that industry. And then on top of that, do what is called a up-to-date feedback, or get up-to-date feedback from the worst news. So that was my research done to the e-commerce, okay? And now, okay, so once you do that, so once you know how to apply that, okay, so how you can present that information, which is the next section. So how to create effective and appealing report. Okay, so the whole point of this is that you want to make sure and let the client know how you came to that conclusion, and that is by looking at by showing them with the statistic and different charts and the meaningful patterns. You can from there set a precedent, a roadmap of how you're going to implement that solution to solve their problems. Because after all, data visualizations is very important because it improves the decision making. So there are several things that you can do again for creating this visually appealing consumer reports. First is, so before doing that, you must know exactly what's going on in there. Okay. Second, put the most relevant data first, because you don't want the client start to forget what the most important thing was, because no one wants to sit at the presentations to figuring out at the end of the slides would contain all the good stuff. So put the most relevant information first, and then expand that with different visualization and aesthetics. If you have recurring clients, it is useful to use some templates, okay, so you can speed up that process, and use data charts and visualization, different graphs. So I'm gonna hit the break here, because this is something very, very important, especially as a developer or as a software developer, because at the end of the day, you want to let the client how you came to that conclusion, and understanding at least the most basic ways of how you can present data, you can visualize, and also see when you can apply that, at which stage you can apply that, is something that can give you more perspective and ultimately provide value to the client. So by making a quick recap of all of these different charts, okay, which is something that I'm going to build, especially I just want to build a geomaps with wildcards available countries, and also to solve one of my issue here, which is not only with the presentation or the coding skills, but also to see how can I use this type of libraries, these visualization libraries, at least for one single example. Okay, so there are several charts that you can use. So for example, bar charts, useful when you want to show change over time or compare different categories or part of a whole. Pie charts, which are great to compare part to a whole. Comparison with continuous data. This is much more impactful for small data sets, for small number of variables. Line charts, when you want to show is trends, deceleration, trends, acceleration, decelerations, and volatility. Time series relationship, okay, with the line chart. Area chart is the same with line chart, but here you can represent volume, meaning you can represent another variable. Again, useful when you want to show is time series relationships. Scatter plot, when you want to see correlation of data, okay. Again, correlation doesn't mean causality, but that's another whole different video. Okay. So, for example, on the g-axis, you have is customer satisfaction, and on the x-axis you have time to response. So, this is a graph to illustrate the customer service satisfaction. So you will find that a lot of the time all of the data points will be closer to the less time the customer service spend to solve their problem, the more customer satisfaction you will get. And also I look at the bubble chart, which is a combo mix between the scatter plot and area chart. This is great when you want to show nominal data or ranking data. So for example, time spent on the internet on the g-axis, age on the x-axis, and gender as the bubble, right? Another example of that is the heat maps. When you want to show categorical data, and categorical data are data that can be grouped into classes, whether it's nominal, that doesn't have an inherited order, such as cards, colors, fruits, ethnicity, and ordinal data that has an inherited order, like job seniority, entry level, junior, mid, senior, C executive, and or health like poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. Salary brackets, or such as from 0 to 25K, 25K to 50K, 50K to 75K. Education level. Associate, I would like to recall this, which is something that I ask here to ChatGPT. Okay. Categorical data. Yes, like this. So, education level. Okay, education level like high school diploma, associate degree, bachelor degree, master degree, doctorate. Okay. Star rating. Okay, so education level. I'm not quite familiar with that on the US. I'm not quite familiar with that. So yeah, so education level. So education levels. So high school diploma, associate. So high school diploma, associate degree, bachelor, master degree, or doctorate. Okay, rating uh, from 1 to 5 star. So heat maps use this categorical data to using. So the heat map use categorical data using intensity of color to represent in geomaps or data tables. So for example, you want to see in a map which state votes or which state export the most apple, for example, which state export the most oil. Okay, so using intensity of color you can do that. Another interesting will be, or another interesting heat map will be, is showing which state on the US consume the most TikTok, for example. So that's heat map. Then I look at geomap when you want to display distribution of data on a map, such as uh, different retail that a particular brand has, or subsidiaries. Tables when you want to see comparison from sales representative, or where blog views are coming from. Waterfall when you want to see performance or time, and pictogram show statistic with icons. So for example, clean and water has very detailed, very so it show, okay, it has a very detailed graph illustrating is using tiers in a grid of 3 by 3, where there are one tier in color in brown and the other in blue, and on the right side you have a text: 1 of 9 people on earth don't have access to clean water. So this is an example of this pictograph. And also I look at some other tools and resources that I can use to leverage my your report, whether it's for Google Maps, Google Trends, Microsoft Excel, Statista for getting different sources and to quote your data. And also it can be for Canvas to generate this report, as well as your own CRM from Hotspot. Okay, and when it comes to data visualization, there are some do's and don'ts. First of all, show your report in a structured way. Make it easy to read and use precise numbers. So you don't want to lose your data after you present it. And also remember to use benchmark. Okay, and when it comes to communication tips to present your report, break down complex topics, because especially for people who doesn't hold a background on that, you want to make things as much as simple as possible. Okay, so break down complex topics. And even if you want to use some jargon industry, well, make it easy to understand. Make sure that you understand the goal so the others people can understand that. So make sure that you understand the goal. Avoid miscommunications, understanding the communication and working habit of your clients, being a team player, and keep track every communication that you're having with your client using a CRM. And don't forget to send brief updates. So with that, okay, then I look at how you can build recurring clients. So by doing this A/B testing, okay, which after all, the A and B testing is where the A is the control and the B is the treatment here. The A is the unauthorized version, the original version, and the B is the expected optimized version. Okay, so once you do this, it is important to do following some good practice, because you can do as much tests as you wanted. But first, do one test at a time. Test one variable, okay, especially if you want to check the performance and pinpoint back what you measure. So for example, you change the button, the color of the button, or the content in an email. You want to see the impact that it has on you want to see the impact that it has whether it's for user retention and user conversion. So it is important to test one variable. So do one test at a time. Test one variable. Make minor change. Very, very important. Do the test simultaneously, the A and B. Okay. Do the test simultaneously. Sorry. So do the test simultaneously, split your test randomly 50-50, and before the testing, decide on how significant it is. Okay? Decide on how significant it is. Remember to also measuring that A/B testing over time, and to follow a circle, which is plan, do, check, and act. Similar to the machine learning workflow development. All right. So yeah, so I just want to recap that for this video, and well, that'll be all for that. Take care. Bye bye.